Well, hello again from the woodshed here. It's TJ again. Nobody else would be here. Uh, I haven't posted a video for a couple of weeks. The reason is the haying season has started again here. And although I retired once, uh, about 7 years ago, I have worked for the last 7 years every summer beginning about this time of the year, all the way up to, sometimes just about Thanksgiving week. So, anybody that is out there watching these things on a regular basis, be aware that uh, videos may be every couple of weeks, maybe every 3 weeks for a while, until the first cutting of hay gets over with and all that gets done up, and there's a lull in the middle where there's road maintenance, which is basically one of the things I do, and is the road maintenance for the farm. It's a fairly large operation. It's close to about 6,000 acres, I guess, and there's a lot of field roads, access roads that the hay trucks use to come and go on. And um, right now we're in a really rainy season for some reason. The reason is the weather's changed, and the rain is heavier this spring than most. It's been a fairly wet spring, so the roads have been taking quite a bit of attention, and that's good for me and bad at the same time. So there, I will post videos when I get a chance, but 9-10 hours a day out on the farm, I really don't get out here to do much unless it's some little trivial thing, which I'm sure most people have done dozens of times, and seeing somebody else do it really doesn't prosper any new thought. So, that being said, I want to take today as shop cleanup day. I don't have a project, but I did want to take the time to let you know what was going on. I haven't dropped off the face of the earth, but I have a couple of things that I thought I'd pass along. I have ran into some curious, I don't know what you'd call them, curious events, curious cause and effect things that I haven't quite yet worked out answers for. Um, Not that they're great mysteries. I'm sure somebody out there already knows, but it's a mystery to me. Let me separate myself here from you for a bit. Sorry about that, but one of the things I wanted to bring to my attention was your attention was over at the lathe. I have purchased a bunch, I shouldn't say that, probably 6 or 8 pieces of wood from a supplier, and the wood is extremely good quality wood. There's nothing wrong with it. It's nice and dry, and makes it kind of an interesting thing to turn because, well, it's dry wood, and it doesn't cut, as they say, like butter. So I ran into some things that are kind of puzzling, and I've tried a couple things with very little success. So in the next 4 or 5 minutes here, I'll try to get all this covered. This is a little maple vessel that I turned, I guess it was yesterday afternoon because I was busy yesterday morning. And it's hollowed out probably 3/16 inch wall on it here, and you know, the inside follows the outside contour and all that stuff. But that isn't the thing. I don't know if you can see, if you look real close, you'll see that finish on there really shines on part of it. And as you come down the vessel, there's parts of it does not shine on. Now, this is a result of, this is vessel number 3. I made 2 other little vessels, and I've tried 3 different ways of finishing these things. I don't much care for spray-on finishes. There's nothing wrong with them. This is personal preference here. It has nothing to do with product quality or people doing the wrong thing. That's not what this is about. My personal preference, I don't much care for spray-on finish. Now, when I say spray-on finish, I'm talking out of a can you buy at the hardware store. I realize that material in there has to be very, very thin in order to be able to be aerosoled out of that can. So it's very fluid. The material that puts the finish on is thin, hence there's not, you have to put on more coats. So you run more risk of a run or a sag or something else showing up. Well, then you're back to sanding it smooth, maybe all the way back to the bare wood and starting over. That probably would go away with practice or consistent use of the thing, and like I said, personal preference, I don't care much for them. I will say the spray lacquer is probably the better. I have a product here, I don't even know who makes it, but it's called Clear Glaze. It's supposed to be triple thick. And I've tried that, and I see a problem here. Well, the problem I'm having is it has an elasticity to it, and it does have some body to it. However, it won't penetrate pores of wood. In other words, if you have a little, like a piece of ash I made something out of here several days ago, and ash is relatively porous, and when you put a heavy clear finish on something, you're hoping to end up with a mirror-like glass finish. Well, that triple coat stuff was just as porous as the wood when I was done spraying it, because it didn't have the ability to leach into the pores of the wood. So I tried that didn't work. It didn't work the way I wanted it to. So I ended up going back to friction polish, which of course doesn't do much for pores of wood either, other than you got to keep building it up to get it there. This was finished with friction polish, and as you see, well, it's in the shop again now. I'm going to put some more finish on it, but it does not, it just doesn't finish uniform. I don't know why. Now, granted, some of them may be weather and all that kind of stuff. Yes, that's very possible. My point to what I'm saying is here, I've tried friction polish by first applying a couple of coats of sanding sealer and letting it dry, and then sanding it lightly with 600 sandpaper in both directions, and then applying the friction polish. This I did not do that to. My conclusion at this point in time is the gentlemen that are out there and the ladies that are first applying friction sealer, or excuse me, sanding sealer, and then a coat or two coats and letting it dry thoroughly, and then sanding that lightly, and then applying the friction polish, in my humble opinion, I think have it right as far as getting a consistent gloss to their products, to their projects. Why that would be is, I guess, pretty obvious. The sanding sealer seals the wood, and when you sand it back off and tack it down, you have a relatively semi-finished surface to work with. So I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. But I have discovered that. I just thought it was worth sharing, and I'll just throw it out there for consideration. Now, the lacquer products, when I used one, it was by Deft, and I will say it went on very well, dried very quickly, and the beauty of the lacquer is if you have the time to get enough coats on it and sand it with 1500 grit, you can buff that back out and get a really good luster. The thing I don't like about it is it adds another step to the finishing product, where I can go with sanding sealer, let it dry for 15-20 minutes, sand it down, grab my friction polish and put a finish on something, and it looks really good. So, my two choices. Always got to have two. Of course, there's always, you know, tung oil, walnut oil, orange oil, all the other stuff that's out there. Teak oil. All that stuff puts a finish on and it's natural and it really looks nice. And yeah, I would use any of them in a heartbeat. But for a finish that you want a high gloss to, I would have to say that a couple coats of sanding sealer, let it dry thoroughly, and then throw the friction polish on top of it seems to be, for me anyway, the most productive with the least amount of time involved. Secondly would be the lacquer. And the only reason I don't do that is it adds another step to the deal of having to finish them. And I have yet to get my dust system in here, which is coming in about a month. I'll have a dedicated dust collector that the sanding dust won't impregnate the shop quite so bad. So that is it. That is what I had to throw out there today. And I haven't tried all the finishing materials out there. I don't know that I'm young enough to get through them all. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there that do things altogether differently that come up with just tremendous results. And this is not a video to debunk those other methods. This is simply a video saying what I have found out in this shop works here. And as a matter of fact, I learned it from somebody else. So there you go. If you're having trouble with it, try getting your product sanded down to 600 grit and throwing a couple coats of sanding sealer on it, letting it dry thoroughly, and nibble it off 1,000 or 1,500, and then put your friction polish on and see what it comes out to do. So that's it for here for today. And like I said, going to be a couple of week gap between the videos here. I'll be out in the hayfield 6 days, maybe 7 days a week, and that's life. And eventually maybe I'll retire from this one again. Only got 3 more years to go, and I'll have 10 years at this. So after 20-some years with other stuff, you know, and then 20-some years with something else, well, I might get enough years in to quit. So anyway, put it in the lathe and turn it and see what you can make. And be careful, and God bless.